short video of Juno, we call him. Most of you know the story, but he came here to fill an errand from Off the Wall Ministries, and we told him, this ain't Alaska, son. And he came here with them fishing boots, and that was the only pair of shoes he had. And Bill gave him a pair of tennis shoes, and we as a project gave him some money to go buy some clothes. And all of a sudden his demeanor changed when he got a couple dollars in his hand, and he wanted to walk to the store, and Phil and I knew what was going on. When he's like, listen son, again, you're not in Alaska anymore. Well, he stormed across the parking lot, and he went to the library, and he made a connection over there, and some guys drug him down to Short Street, robbed him of all his money, and even robbed him in his shoes. And when Aaron came here and found him, he was standing in his socks in front of the church out here. That's how he got his name Juno. Do you know where my tennis shoes are at, or do you know how to get back to Alaska? So, you know, I'm sure there'll be some people shedding some tears, and I know we've had a little vigil here last Tuesday. We came here as a family, and we cried together and leaned on each other. But, you know, I'm hoping today that we celebrate Juno's life, and I know that he touched a lot of hearts here. And Juno's not an addict anymore. He's with his father today. And we just want to celebrate his life. I think AJ put together a little video. And then anybody that wants to come up here, I know a lot of us are really close to him. I know a lot of us housed him in our own house, under our own roofs, and fed him from our own freezers. And, you know, I'm really grateful for that, because that's what we do, because we're a family. You know, a lot of the people, treatment facilities, and, you know, we get a lot of slack for that. Taking people into our homes. I don't know. What would Jesus do? I'm pretty sure he was homeless. And I'm pretty sure people asked him in their homes and fed him and gave him a place to sleep. And that's what we do until we have a house where we can take these people someday. Anybody that wants to come up and share a little bit of their heart, or a story or whatever about Juno, or done with a video, anyone's invited to come up and share. And I just want to celebrate Jacob Smithwick's life. Go ahead, AJ.
Wow, guys, this has been a tough week. Man, the first moment that I got the call from my Aunt Terry that they had a kid in Alaska who needed help, like my first response was, he can come to our house. Like, and anyone that knows me, I'm not one that lets people in my home very easily, because that's my safety. I must really love you to let you in my home. And I don't know, I was drawn to Jake from the first moment that we met him, when Sergey and Caleb brought him into our home with these stupid boots on. I looked at him and I'm like, you're not in Alaska anymore, buddy. And he fit the part of an Alaskan fisherman, but Jake made such an impact on my life. We had a love-hate relationship, I could say. He would get so mad at me because he would say, you're not my mom. I'm like, well, no, I'm not, but I'm going to act like it, whether you like it or not. And when Jake got out of jail at first, the first night, Phil went and picked him up, and I saw him that next morning. And when I first met him, you know, he was still high coming from Alaska, and he was quite a handful. Remember, Sergey? And when I saw him when he was sober, the first thing he did was he just embraced me, and he said, you know, I already love you, and I already thank you for the little bit that you've done thus far. And those 3.5 weeks that Jake was here, man, we had some really good conversations sitting on that couch, me, him, and Phil. He touched my parents' life, my son's life, everybody that he was around. There was a reason that Jake came to Ohio. There was a reason that he died a warrior, because there's something about him that was charismatic and true. And he loved from the deepest parts of his body, even though sometimes he didn't show it. I know that that man's heart was as big as Alaska, and he will forever be in my heart. And Phil and I are going to plan on this summer trying to make it to Alaska to meet his family, because I have quite a relationship with his mom and grandpa, just from over the phone, talking through his overdose here. And, when he woke up from that overdose here, and we were all at the hospital, how many were there of us were there? A lot, huh? He didn't want treatment. He didn't want help. He said he could do it on his own. And that day that Phil and I left him sitting out there on that step, and we drove away, and I hugged him before I left. I knew in my gut it was going to be the last time, because he just wasn't willing. But one thing we do know is that Jake died a believer, and he was welcomed by our God and walked through those pearly gates, and he's not in pain anymore, and he's, like Tiny said, he's not an addict anymore. And he sent me an email about 12 hours before he died, and he just thanked everybody. And me and Phil, he said that he felt more love out of this group than what he's felt in his entire life. And for our project to make such an impact on that young man's life is huge. And that's what we do, you know. This week I wanted to not do this anymore. I was told from the very beginning, Aaron, don't get your heart involved, because I do. I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I didn't. You know, we've buried a lot of people, and nobody has affected me like Jake has. But I know now that I'm here, and I'm gonna fight for Jake's out there, because there's more like him, and there's going to be more that touches our lives. But he was unique, and he's going to be forever missed.
I'm going to try not to cry. First time I knew Jake, or heard Jake, was when he first came off the wall. Caleb came up to me and said, hey, this guy just came into our house, and man, he can rap. And I went over there and I sat on the couch. I listened to him tell his story and how he rapped. And we connected right away. I've never had anybody connect with me the way Caleb and Jake did. Those two are my two best friends, and we always talked about the three of us could be buried, and the three of us became two this week. Anyway, it was pretty hard. But Jake called me one day, just bawling his eyes out, and said, I need help. And I said, bro, you can come to my house if you need to. You can come to Ohio. I said, you need to get away from Alaska. You need to get away from your friends. He got a ticket from his mentor and came down, and we picked him up, Caleb and I did, from the airport. And I couldn't let him stay at my place, because I work in the EMS and firefighter field, and he had needles on him. And so I said, you can't stay at my place. And then Terry got contacted with Aaron. We took him over to Aaron's place, and I got to know Phil and Aaron there. And I really don't know what to say now. I'm gonna miss him. You know, everybody says, you know, he's not an addict anymore. I think the only thing that he's addicted to now is gazing into the eyes of his Savior and worshiping Jesus and rapping up there in heaven. And this week's been rough. I had to go stay night at Aaron's and Phil's place. I'm highly suicidal at time to time, and this week has been pretty rough, and been wanting to just go be with my brother Jake. But I've always wondered what my call in life was. I always knew it was to be helping people, so I thought, hey, EMS and firefighter field, that's where I'm going to be, helping people. But Jake has given me the call in my life, and has been addicted to, never been addicted to heroin or anything like that, but marijuana and pills and all that stuff. I made a patent this week that I'm going to fight against heroin in the name of our great Savior and on behalf of Jake and the Warriors. And I think that's what I'm going to do for the rest of my life, is saving young men like Jake and giving them a hope. So.
me and Jake became, I told myself I cried enough there, just come up here and say what I need to say. I'll never forget what Jake said to me. The last conversation I had with him, he said, brother, blood's thicker than water and the rivers run deep, and we'll be brothers until I'm 6 feet under. And I have that on my phone. Jake taught me a lot about working with young men and about myself. I seen a lot of myself in Jake. You know, he was only 20, but I lived in that darkness that he was in for 38 years. And for whatever reason, God, Jesus, let me live through it and spared me my life to be able to work with others like Jake. I definitely don't question why I'm a warrior today. I know exactly why I am where I'm at today. For people like Jake. I'm really not that upset that he's gone. I'm just selfish and I want him to myself. But I'm glad he is where he is. Those boots he actually left for me the last day I seen him. See, I have a problem with listening to God sometimes. I don't like doing everything he asked me to do. And when I was sitting on my Harley out front, he was sitting on the steps. He had just gotten out of the hospital. God was telling me that my work was done. I'm not a farmer. And I didn't want to leave. I wanted to bring him home with me. And that wasn't my job. If I'd have brought him home, I'd have been getting in the way. So I had to call one of my warrior brothers because I was having a hard time listening to God when he was speaking to me, so I had to get a second opinion. So I called Doug. I said, bro, I'm struggling, man. I can't drive away. And he said, Phil, you need to give him a hug and you need to get on that bike and you need to leave and let him hit his bottom. I'm no one to get in the way of anybody's bottom and what Christ is trying to do in their life. I'm only here to share my experience, strength, and hope in Christ. That's my job. I'm not here to save anybody. But I can tell you, I learned a lot about starting that motorcycle that day and driving away. And trusting God. And my faith and trust in Him got really strong that day. Because like Aaron said, I had a good feeling that was the last time I was going to see him. A real good feeling. And it was. The last time I seen Jake was sitting on those steps when he said, Phil, I don't want to waste your guys' time anymore. I'm not ready. I've been there. Jake loved each and every one of us. He talked about everybody in this program and about Christ. I sat right here with Jake for an hour praying that Satan would leave him alone. The fact of the matter is he wasn't ready, and he was honest about that. I will forever love Jacob Smithwick. That's all I got.
It's been a very hard week for me on a lot of different levels with this situation with Jake. I did house Jake for a little while, and due to some circumstances, I was no longer able to do that. Since that very day up until today, more so Wednesday, my brothers helped me out with that. Put a lot of blame on myself for Jake's first overdose, like I didn't do enough. Maybe if I would have let him stay longer and loved him a little harder, it wouldn't have happened. This has definitely changed me quite a bit. I got into this field to help people, and I wasn't able to help. I do know that, it wasn't my fault Jake wasn't ready, but it doesn't change my heart. I've been doing a lot of praying, talking to my warrior brothers about how I'm feeling inside. I was ready to give up a few days ago. I didn't feel as though I had the right to stand in front of my warrior brothers and sisters and tell them I can help them, because I felt as though I failed. Come to find out today, that was just the devil getting in my head, because I am a warrior of Christ and I am a warrior in his family. I got a lot to offer. It's sad that Jake is gone, but within his passing, I've gained a new understanding of what Christ has in store for me and what I need to do. I'm glad my brother's not suffering anymore. And with the last thing to say today is all you young people who are still struggling, don't you give up that fight, man. We're here, we can help. 24/7, somebody's phone will answer. Don't give up this fight. You can make it, you're stronger than what you are. I'm not ashamed. I'm begging you, fight. Fight, please fight. We're here for you. Get a number. Show up. Life is worth living. I love you all. If you need my number, we're here. That's what this project's about. That's why God put us all together. Save lives. Win souls for Christ, man. Do not give up. I'm begging you, please. Don't give up.
You need help out?
One thing that I'm sure of, that the short time that Jacob was here, he's brought us closer together as a family. And we have all learned so much, In reality, Jake's only the second warrior brother that we've lost. I can't tell you how many times I said I stopped counting at 40. But they weren't actively working in our project and seeking a solution. We've been in the streets, that's where we operate, in the trenches. And we've tried to mentor and disciple the people. Many times they're not ready. And I know we've been to a lot of funerals this year. We've had a lot of moms and dads or husbands and wives crying on their shoulders. I housed Jake for a couple of days, man. God, I definitely know that he loved Jesus. And we had, we spent from 8 o'clock at night till 4 o'clock in the morning talking about Jesus. And talking about the Warriors Project and trying to breathe life into him and hope into him. And I thought that I was there for Jake. But it's happened a lot of times in my life when I disciple or I minister to someone and I find out that I'm the one that's being ministered to. Jake was here to minister to us. He really was. He came here to carry a message to us as a project, as a family, that we stick together strong. We stay steadfast on the word. We go to the streets. We go to the abandoned houses. We go to the hospitals. I remember at the hospital, there's 20 of us there, and they said, Jake's not going to make it. And we all went into the critical care waiting room, and we prayed as a family. And then when we went back, they said, he's breathing on his own. They were surprised, but we weren't. We knew why he was breathing on his own. He's a warrior.
Literally.
I had a feeling too that Jake wasn't going to be here for long. And I commend him on his honesty. We had a place for him to stay and treatment for him. And he said, I'm not going to lie to you guys just to get a place to stay. I'm not ready. The story's written from the beginning to the end. My brother Jeff tells me all the time. We're just all actors in a play up here. You know, I'm so grateful to have Jacob in my life and the short time that we got to spend with him. You know, I have, as many of us have, grown and learned a lot from the experience. I never know who God is going to send to carry the message to me. It might be the homeless guy living under the bridge. Or it might be my brother from Alaska, the fisherman. When your eyes are open and your ears are open, and you're looking for the answers, it's pretty simple to recognize for me today, and for a few days I struggled that, you know, Jake served his purpose. That was to bring us together as a family and to carry the message that he carried and to bring us together closer as a family. You know, I'm just very grateful to share a little bit of Jake's life. Renee, come up here. I know we talked and you had a hard time. You need to share.
I didn't know Jake very well at all, but there was something about that boy. I remember when we all rode to Philly to the fight against heroin, and on our pit stops, like, he would just make me laugh. He had the perfect smile. And AJ's bonfire, my son was going crazy. He wanted to s'more, and we had no sticks. And Jake grabbed this little bits and just was making my son s'mores, and he loved it. I work in a bar, and it's very hard being sober. I was having a bad day, and I called Erin, and I said, I just feel like I want a drink. She said, you know, things could be worse. You could be on life support right now where Jake is. And I immediately left work and I went to that hospital. And because of him, I got 30 days sober that day. And every day I was there holding his hand. And I talked to him. And I told him if he wasn't good, I was going to take him to my house and lock him in the dog cage in the basement. And his sick little twisted personality said, that doesn't sound like torture, it sounds like pleasure. He had a way with words. The day that I got the news about Jake was the day that I was graduating my intense outpatient. And somehow he'd always managed to get me to that next step without even knowing it. So I call him my recovery angel now. The other night, I just wanted to forget. It felt like a dream. And I go down and I open my DVD case to put in a movie. And the first DVD that popped up was Juno. And I just started laughing. When we came here Tuesday, I haven't cried that hard in a long time. A very long time. And I'm so He impacted a lot of us. He loved us. He was so happy here, but he wanted to go home for a reason. And he did his job here.
I don't want to. Oh, go ahead. I'm not grabbing that thing. It's been a tough week. You guys can hear me, right?
Use the mic to record.
Geez, Nut, you gotta be different.
No. I've spent this week really soul searching. Not about whether I'm going to do this or not, but how. And why. If you look to your left, and you look to your right, that's why we do it. That's why. You know, Jake, he wasn't ready. And we did know it, but we tried so hard with loving him. Brought him into my house, fed him. My wife couldn't stop talking. What?
Gave him another pair of shoes.
Yeah. And he lost his first pair of shoes. It's funny how God works. I got home, I heard about, Bill had called me and Aaron had called me about Juno got robbed. And he took his shoes. And I started to laugh because I knew they were Phil's shoes. And then I was praying, I prayed that Phil didn't hurt him for getting his shoes stolen. Just kidding. But I had a pair of shoes that I hadn't been wearing, they were still in good shape. And when I grabbed them, brushed them off, and walked in the house and I said, Ange, I gotta give a young man a pair of shoes that has got no shoes. She said, that's funny. I just bought you a new pair of shoes. And took them over there. And at that time we were still calling him in Alaska. And as I was walking out the door, my wife said, you should call him Juno. And I said, well, that's funny. Because then I came up with the little phrase of Juno, where my shoes are. Because that's how I handle things, with humor. But, you know, I really brought him into my heart. I needed help one day, moving some furniture. And I definitely could have grabbed somebody a little bit bigger and stronger. But I grabbed Juno because I wanted to spend time with him. And I wanted to show him what family does. I took him over to my in-laws' house. We were there about 15 minutes. And I came upstairs, and Juno didn't even know this, but I came upstairs, and my mother-in-law, God bless her, she is a soldier of Christ, was praying for him already. And then when we found out about the first overdose, she spent all night waking up and praying for him. That's the power of prayer. The love of this family and the prayers from his family. Not even his own family. This family saved him that night. I truly believe that. And then when Phil called me, and I had to say that, the advice that I knew I needed to give was probably the hardest thing I've done in my life.
And I knew he was going to be gone too. I think 1 or 2 nights after that, I went to the refuge. I'd been texting him all day. And finally answered me on my way home. He said, sure, why not? So I went to the refuge, we're sitting outside. You know, he's telling me his plan. He's gonna go home, he's gonna work. He's gonna go shovel snow, because the big snow's coming. I'm gonna guess it's gonna be there a while, but that was his plan. And he was still gonna smoke weed. And I just looked at him, I said, do you think that's gonna help? And I started to get real with him. And he didn't like it at all. And he got mad. And he literally, we were sitting down against the wall and he left me sitting there. Could have helped me up. It was cold that night. But he didn't. And right before he walked in the door, I said, you can be mad, man, but know that I love you. And the day before I found out, before I got that call, he was gone. I had sent him a text out of nowhere, just sitting at my desk, just got off a call. And I just sent a text, and it was simple. I love you, brother. It's times like this that it's got to make us stronger. We got to come together. Because we might not have been able to save Jake, but there's so many more out there that we can save. Because what we do works.
And we have.
And we have. You're right. And again, look to the left.
Called Phil. I was having trouble myself with something, and he said, well, we're about to do a 12-step. Come on over. I rolled up on my bike, chaps, and my leathers on. I forget exactly who said it, but he was like, you look scared, man. I was like, no. I don't think he's ever seen somebody ride or something. He was a very loving kid, man. He impacted me pretty hard.
You were that kid.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember one of the meetings we went to with Phil, and I walked outside and looked at him and said, you don't give up on him. I said, that's me right there, dude. I don't know if you remember that, but I said those words. Don't give up on him. I've seen a lot of me in him, and you could see he wanted it, but he wasn't ready, and he tried. I think he tried really hard to make the best of what this was and why he was here. But yeah, I just don't think he was ready. I remember going to the hospital when he was in there, and surgery was there, and I grabbed his hand and he said, come here, and then said, I love you. And I think that, I knew he meant that, and I said it back to him, and I meant it too, and it's just really hard. I don't know, that was, he did impact me pretty hard. This was been a really rough week. I've lost a lot of friends this year. I think this one's impacted me the most. He will forever be missed.
I didn't know Juno as well as everybody else. I'm just come up here because I actually want to ask Phil a question. Seeing as how there's no names left or no space left on the car, I was hoping maybe we could all throw a little kitty together and get some personalized tags with in memory of Juno, if that'd be all right with you. Okay. So, just figure I'd be willing to throw some money in on that if everybody else would be willing to do that as well.
Do you know where the car's at?
Do you know where to
Hey, do we get judo or shoes?
Juno.